too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture.
Well, welcome in, everybody. Game time, Brian, otherwise known as the mailman. Off today. It's snowing outside, or it has snowed. I'm glad I'm off. It's cold. I'm inside. I'm doing videos. So welcome in. We have to talk about the Cowboys coaching carousel yet again. Deion Sanders, in my opinion, will not be the next head coach of the Cowboys, just based on everything that we're hearing. I hate when my organization does this to me. I don't know if that would bring more wins in the playoffs or Super Bowl, but I just know that he has won, and I was excited for a brief time. I was. Anybody that says that they're not excited, I don't know. I liked when Dion was here. You know, he's a special player. I was never the best or the biggest fan of Dion off the field. I think he likes the limelight, but I think we're all tired of this organization. You know, we all think it's Jerry, it's Jerry, it's Jerry. The video I just uploaded, basically, it's it's what we thought. Stephen Jones is a problem. Stephen Jones didn't want any part of Deion Sanders the first time when they brought him as a player, threw his dad up against the wall. It's well documented. Almost hit his father, Jerry Jones. Stephen Jones used to be the cap guy. Now it's a guy from Landmark Grill who's running our cap. It looks like a menu at the Cheesecake Factory. It's just ridiculous that we don't have the wherewithal to structure contracts to be able to go out and or we don't have the desire. Maybe they're smart enough. They just are unwilling to spend in free agency and stretch it out and try and win now rather than to always be fiscally responsible. Because I think the Eagles are one of the top teams in the league in dead money at around 60 million this year, coinciding with the fact that they're playing on divisional round weekend in the playoffs, one win away from going to the NFC championship game. Again, this is the most exciting week of the NFL calendar is divisional week football. We have 4 great games starting tomorrow. We'll be here to cover them, but we have some business to handle here first today. I'm going to listen to this morning's show on 105.3 The Fan again, Bobby and Sean and the crew. I'm going to try and fast forward it, not to make this video too long, but Ben Johnson is rumored to be wanting to have an interview with the Cowboys. Yes, Aaron Glenn, he should be interviewed just because they say they want to be the coach of this, they want to be the coach of that. Aaron Glenn is a Dallas native. He was a player here. I would interview him. I don't think if you're going to go with a Kellen Moore, there's no rush. Deion Sanders has an offer on the table that's been on his desk. And who knows what all this hullabaloo is regarding Deion and Jerry. Stephen Jones ain't letting that happen. He didn't want it to happen the first time. It sure as hell ain't going to let it happen the second time. Dallas Cowboys have this thing with Kellen. We saw Kellen as the offensive coordinator, okay, under the head coach, under McCarthy, which, as the video I just uploaded a little while ago, was sketchy at best regarding his relationship. I don't know how Kellen would do. Troy Aikman even said it last night when we were listening to his clip on the ticket. Troy Aikman said it best. He loves Ben Johnson. He's friends with Ben Johnson. He's a football savant when it comes to running offense, but he's not even sure that Ben Johnson would make a great head coach. Sometimes it doesn't translate. You know, sometimes a guy like Pete Carroll, who's not an X and O guy, can go win a Super Bowl because he's a leader of men. So I wanted a leader of men. Clearly, Dion will not become to the Cowboys if Stephen Jones has any say in it at all. Jerry Jones does not want another offensive guy to leave the building and go be a head coach for somebody else. You saw it with Sean Payton. Sean Payton, I still believe, will some time in the future, assuming he wants to coach, will be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. It is a very coveted job, regardless of the circus, just because it's the Cowboys. So my opinion, there's no rush for Kellen. You know, there's no rush. But I'm here to tell you, and I said some pretty hard statements because I got worked up with the Dion thing. I think Robert Saleh was brought in here as a backup head coach, but more importantly, as a defensive coordinator. That tells me Zimmer may be retiring, unless it's Dion. I don't know if Zimmer wants to be the defensive coordinator under a Kellen Moore regime. Don't know that he doesn't, but don't know that he does. I definitely know that Zimmer would be the D coordinator with Dion. So fast forward. Ben Johnson, I have no idea. Dallas has never wanted to spend for a first-time head coach like a Ben Johnson, especially to get into the upper stratosphere of money that I think he turned down 17 million. I don't think he would get that here, but Dion was already due an $8 million buyout, so that's 8. You figure, I think he was making around 6 million, 5.9 million in Colorado a year. So Dion's salary would be hover around 15 million. Dion not coming here. Ben Johnson, I think, would probably come here for 15 million. So would they do that for Dion? I think so. Well, Jerry would, but would they do that for a first-time head coach? Probably not. Still think they need to interview him, as well as Aaron Glenn. But I believe Robert Saleh would be the let's try and get him with Kellen Moore. With Dion or Kellen. Robert Saleh is interesting because I don't think he would take a D coordinator job. So the more I think about it, I think Kellen would be Matt Eberflus. You would have Matt Eberflus come back in as a D coordinator, even though that ended ugly. That's why I think Dallas is trying to cover all their bases, because the Eberflus thing ended a bit ugly, not for anything that Matt did. As you see, he's not really a head coach material. Great coordinator. Maybe he comes back to be the D coordinator under Kellen. You'll see Witten involved in this organization. He has put out a no comment. He's not ready to be the head coach, but I think that would be great if it were a Kellen Moore. They have a relationship, so you may see John Kitna back in the organization again. Maybe Kellen is the coach calling the plays in conjunction with Doug Nussmeier. Maybe John Kitna wants to come back, local guy. Mark Colombo. I don't have a real problem with it, but it's not exciting to me. So anyway, I've talked enough. Let's listen to what Bobby has to say. We'll stop and comment at times, and we'll go from there.
Cowboys Coaching Watch. And the latest update, the Cowboys are scheduled to speak with Kellen Moore today.
Good. It's your next head coach right there. That's what's coming. Have you seen the growing push, the growing hashtag out there that's like no Kellen Moore? The Cowboys Twitter fan base is out there using hashtag no Kellen Moore or no to Kellen Moore or something like that. So this one would not go over well. This would it's not.
I would think they would use more is less.
Something like that. But no, they're pushing back. I've not seen a whole bunch of positive reaction to the idea of what seems like the favorite right now, which is Kellen Moore getting this job.
No, I know you spy on the other shows a lot, you Tolo, and I was expecting you to call in with bloody rage to the G-Bag Nation when Zach Wolchuk and Eric Chiafalo yesterday were talking, and they were just like trashing Kellen. Philadelphia is there despite Kellen Moore. Have you had any of these arguments with those two?
No. I mean, Eric a little bit, not really an argument, more just to talking through why I think he's good and Eric doesn't. Zach, I saw he tweeted something yesterday, but then I remembered Brad Sham has Twitter, and Brad made sure to clap back at him. So I was like, okay, cool. All right, I got Brad here to handle him.
What happened?
He said something like, boy, I don't want the coach that if you hire him, their fan base is clowning you for doing so. And Brad texted back or replied back with a bunch of question marks and exclamation points like, why the hell do you care what another fan base thinks? That's not why we're hiring a coach. And so, which I agree. Doesn't matter what another fan base thinks. It can be indicative, but I also think that that's a...
Yeah, I could care less. He's been in Philly for 1 year. You know, the offense in Philly is... The passing offense is near the bottom of the league. They're not winning because of Kellen. I'm sure Kellen would love to go to a place where they can open it up a little bit offensively. Not that that wins, because we see what wins. Wins is offensive line and running the ball with a running quarterback. That's what wins right now. You just look at Lamar Jackson, look at Josh Allen, look at Jalen Hurts. Even Patrick Mahomes will break your back with a run in the fourth quarter. So that's what's winning, but make no mistake, Kellen would like to go back to Dallas to run the show, to start chucking the ball again.
Silly way to summarize the way that Philly fans have felt about Kellen Moore or whatever else.
Need you to help me figure out his little connection here,
With Kellen Moore?
Yeah, the Dak Prescott thing, did Dak
That's it.
look at him one time for 1 second in the locker room? Did he have one conversation with Kellen Moore?
Yeah.
There's something here that we don't know about.
Dak broke
Jane Slater
wind.
would call it like he's fanboying.
I'm the reverse with you guys and everybody else. Like where it's like we collect everything and can see over a 4-year period when they work together. I want the number one offense in the league again. That's what I want.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to argue that. They absolutely were. They worked well together. I wouldn't hate the move. I'm just uninspired by it. I think Kellen Moore will be a good coach.
RJ.
I'm
You
just
nailed it.
uninspired by it. That's it.
You think he would be a good coach, but we have been in lockstep this entire week questioning him as a CEO.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think he's a good football coach.
I have that same question, by the way. That's not. I don't think.
Why
that's,
isn't
because
that?
everybody's a flawed candidate. Like there are flaws to everybody that we're talking about here.
Yeah,
That's
but I'd
true.
rather okay. You did a flaws segment and topic the other day. I'd rather your flaw be something else versus the leadership aspect as the head coach.
I don't think it's that he's a bad leader. I don't think he's a disciplinarian, for instance. I think that this locker room mostly, there's a good portion of this locker room that's already dealt with him before. And in some instances, you're talking about there's a portion of this locker room that has played alongside him, watched him come along as a coach, watched him come along as an offensive coordinator, and I think respects the varied experience that he's had the last couple of years.
Let's get the semantics out of the way, and then Choppy, we'll go down the list of negatives. We'll power rank the negatives. The interview will be done virtually and cannot last more than 3 hours. Kellen then is going to interview. Albert Breer has him interviewing today with Jacksonville and the Saints tomorrow. So explain for me, we did this with Bobby Slowick. We started to yesterday. How some can interview and some can't. I thought the Cowboys missed the window. That was the big thing that we were destroying them for. The Cowboys missed the window to talk to Aaron Glenn. They missed the window to talk to Ben Johnson. These teams that are currently participating, you can't talk to Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
Explain it.
So it's
the first
stupid. And it's almost intentionally
It's the one
convoluted.
seed.
It feels like the guys with the bye, the guys who were missing
Kansas
a week.
City
Yeah,
and
that
Detroit.
was their window that they missed. The guys who played last week or who coached last week and who moved forward, they've got a separate window now where largely
they couldn't talk last week.
Yeah, because they're doing everything to prep for their game and everything else. And so they get a separate window into the following because they're trying not to just block
Leave
guys
no
from being able to
stone
talk.
unturned.
Kellen's prepping for a game.
Cowboys.
Yeah, but you have to allow guys to talk.
Yeah.
So
So
and
they don't
since you
fall
d-
behind too much in the cycle.
So you don't do it first round, right? So they couldn't talk at all last week.
yeah.
Theirs started, I guess it was the day after their completed game. So if you were a Rams or Vikings assistant, you couldn't speak till like Wednesday or Thursday. But Kellen and guys on Saturday and Sunday, they could have talked like Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, and the
Because they're
assumption
they're already freaking out in Philadelphia that Jerry Jones is intentionally distracting Kellen Moore.
The other aspect of this is, and I don't think it's a rule, but most of these end up being virtual. Like when you're talking about guys who are
It's only virtual this
yes.
week.
So when you get into the virtual period, it's like, all right, they're not leaving town, they're not being face to face. By Friday, Saturday, when a lot of these things are getting set up, game plan's pretty much installed. You're putting finishing details on it.
Run the
and I
ball.
think the league probably views it as like
Eagles
that's not
game
as much
plan's
of
installed. Run the ball with Saquon, run the ball with Jalen, run the ball with Gainwell. You throw a slant to AJ, run the ball with Jalen, push Jalen, touchdown. That's the game plan.
of a distraction, and we can't let these guys just completely fall behind in the cycle.
Okay, so I want to, on one side, keep Kellen Moore leadership question by itself, and let's compare everyone else's negative traits
Let's
to
do
that,
that
and figure out which one is a bigger problem for you. By the way, Kellen Moore today for the Cowboys, virtually 3 hours, up to 3 hours. Robert Saleh tomorrow, Leslie Frazier on Monday. Brian Broaddus also says that Mike Zimmer would take the Cowboys head coaching job if offered it.
Well, he'd take it.
Wow.
I'm sure he would take it.
Well, I wasn't sure that he would take it. If you are overwhelmed and have one foot out the door as a coordinator, how is your stress level and your want to, with all the BS and drama you're going to deal with, decrease as the head coach?
I think an extra $5 million a year will do that.
I don't even know that it's the stress level, like it's partially that, but it's also, and he talked about it a little bit at the end of the season, the fact that he had been with Adam, his son, for so long in the coaching ranks. This is the first year, I think, just being around football another year without Adam and like experiencing that for the first time. I think it was tougher than he anticipated to coach this year without him. And obviously there were challenges of everybody was running out of time, but I think that's the one situation where it's like, I'd be willing to give that a go again. Maybe he could be talked back into defensive coordinator, but I do think that there was a lot of fatigue that set in, sort of emotional fatigue of just like, man, this is more taxing and more difficult to coach again than I thought it was going to be.
All right, child, let's do this exercise.
All right, so why I don't want blank to be the next head coach. I'll just run down a list of names and what I perceive.
And you'll name your answer on the Franklin LaFranco Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053.
All right, so the first one was Kellen, and to me, that's just more of the same. It's a link to the past. I don't want a link to the past. This team seems to favor
Ben Johnson
someone
would be
who is
a
either
turn
has a
page.
relationship with the Joneses,
Worked in the grocery store.
I don't want that. Get away from that. It hasn't worked. Get away from a link to the past. I think he's a good coach, but like a good coordinator, good coach. I don't know that he commands a room, but still, a link to the past.
And you don't have a problem with his offense that you've made fun of all the time?
It's old, it's stale, but Dak works well with it. Okay. You know what I mean? Like I don't like the offense. I think it's just a bunch of curl routes. But Dak seemed to do well with it.
A bunch of curl routes is what Mike McCarthy had been running.
Well, there you go.
I mean, we can look at next gen stats and see that.
Kingsbury. First off, he stinks. Look at the history. All he does is
good.
In the second half of seasons, literally every year, their offense gets worse. And this year would have been the same had they had played a remotely decent schedule down the stretch.
So Kingsbury is like second half predictability.
It's like if you play him a second time.
Jerry's already on record saying, this was a year and a half ago, that once you see a little bit of Cliff Kingsbury's offense, you know what they're trying to run. I doubt he would come in here. I just do.
Somehow you know exactly what he's going to do.
What's your big Cliff hang up?
How poorly things have gone at Texas Tech and Arizona, just an inability to win consistently.
Agreed. That's
Leader
a bigger
of
problem
men.
than Kellen.
Yeah. Brian Flores. He won some games in Miami. It got ugly real fast. And truthfully, I don't want any part of any New England tree.
Yeah, they're not
Anything
good.
to do with New England, I want no part of it. That seemed toxic.
For me, it's Brian Flores, like doing all the CEO things and playing the game and for lack of a better term, staying quiet.
he has the Belichick assistant stink on him of just when you've gone into another job, it has ended really poorly with a lot of your tactics being questioned.
Bigger problem than Kellen.
It's a massive risk. He may be a better coach. I don't know, but it's a massive risk.
Jordan Schultz is trying, I'm sure, through Flores' agent to say Brian's learned a lot next to Tomlin and next to Kevin O'Connell for a year. How much you believe in that change, that is up to you.
Pete Carroll. He's 75-ish.
No,
74.
he's not.
I think he's
73.
outdated. He runs an outdated offense. Like the offense that he would bring in. I mean, they're just going to keep Schottenheimer. It's gonna be outdated.
My big hangout with Pete Carroll is the offensive philosophy, but I don't view that as a bigger problem than Kellen's leadership. I would prefer Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer Pete Carroll. I don't think they're going to hire Pete Carroll.
You would prefer him?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to hire him, though.
Why?
Like, I mean, if you're just talking about, also, the other thing is how close.
Why would you hire Mike McCarthy and not Pete Carroll?
Do we think Mike McCarthy's even in the same, like, ballpark as Pete Carroll? I don't think it's even close. Pete Carroll consistently has shown, like, if you watch as soon
if
as
Pete Carroll's better and you hire Mike McCarthy, then why would you not hire Pete Carroll?
I'm saying I don't think they would.
No, why wouldn't they?
Because I think they look at it as they don't want to hire a 75-year-old coach. They don't want to hire. How close do you think your window is? If you think you're right near the edge and it's like, hey, put somebody come in here to push us over the top, Pete Carroll makes sense. I don't know how much longer Pete Carroll's going to coach. It might be 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they want
Which
to do
would be
that.
perfect for the Witten waiting.
And they do not want to hire a defensive coach, I don't think. That's another problem
Yeah.
here. And Pete
I
Carroll is
agree
a
with
defensive
that.
coach. As much as he got hit for the offensive philosophy stuff, I think, again, history and reflection has been kinder to the way he handled Russell Wilson, going, maybe some of the stuff your staff did was actually right.
I mean, he'd be like, I would settle for it. He'd be the best of the bunch. I just, it's like, all right, what's he get? What kind of style is he going to play? Doug Peterson. I cannot, in good faith, put someone named Doug in a position of authority.
Hey, come on, be nice to Doug.
I cannot. Doug is a
Dougie
professional
P. He
wrestler
won a
on the
Super
indie
Bowl.
circuit in
Philly,
Central Pennsylvania who goes by the ring name The Rooster. All right, that's what Doug is.
He's also a great video guy.
What's your biggest Doug knock?
I don't think he's a great coach. Like, I mean, just flat out, I don't think he's a particularly
Why? Because
advantageous
of
coach.
Jacksonville?
He is Doug Marone. Like
Doug.
those types of coaches. Yeah, there you go. I mean, to me, he's just generic. Doug Marone, Gus Bradley, John
another
Fox.
name. There you go, another one.
Same.
I can't have a Gus. I can't have a Gus in charge. And that's my grandfather's. That's my son's middle name. And I can't put a Gus in charge.
Makes zero difference and looked way too thin-skinned in Jacksonville this year. I don't think Dallas is getting any better.
Robert Saleh. Just like I don't want anybody from the Cowboys past. I want nobody who's been touched by the Jets. That is toxic. He was over his head
dumb.
there. He'll be
RJ
over his head
Choppy,
here,
that's
and they need to fix
dumb.
the offense anyway. So the focus on the offense.
Saleh's fine. I wouldn't hate the hire. I'm not taking him over Kellen though. Kellen gives me a schematic
Bobby
advantage.
loves
that
him some Kellen
Saleh
Moore.
can potentially give you on the defensive side of the ball, but it's just not nearly as consistent.
Do you believe in Saleh more as your CEO?
Part of me wants to say yes because of what he's done at other stops, but man, he really seemed neutered in New York that I don't know that that's any better here.
I'm struggling with that one.
Joe
Yeah.
Brady.
I'm struggling with Saleh versus Kellen. I probably lean towards Kellen.
Yeah, I would too. Joe Brady.
Look, like Ben Johnson, I don't know anything about
Right,
Joe Brady.
that's the thing. We don't know,
like,
other than he designs
give me
a
Joe
great
Brady's
offense.
offensive mind over Kellen Moore. Give me Joe Brady OC right next to Ben Johnson. What do we know about Joe Brady personally?
Not much. I will say this.
Joe Brady's had to go through coaching rehab.
Joe
he was the
Brady-
hottest name, and that Carolina
Yep.
stop was bad.
He had the only
I don't
time,
care. I mean, I'm not going to hold that against him.
but that isn't the
why
job
not,
of a great
Sean?
OC to be able to, like Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, get something out of.
We're trying to find the next leader of men, okay? This is my problem. You just outlined. It's the best possible coach, I hate to say it, would be an offensive-minded guy who calls his own plays, who could handle time management. Those guys aren't available. We don't know about Ben Johnson, but we should definitely interview him. You know, like Kellen has never had the reins himself. They know about Kellen with constraints with another head coach. I'm curious to see in his interview, if he gets the job, what was it that made Kellen get the job? What is he going to offer as a head coach that he did not get a chance to offer as an offensive coordinator? Joe Brady he was scary with Carolina. So again, I think Joe Brady may need more rehab, so to speak.
Bad quarterbacks. He was great when he had Joe Burrow and great when he had Josh Allen. I mean, I could be the same.
Yeah, but who was his quarterback in Carolina?
Those 2 years, who would have been? It would have been Darnold for one.
Baker.
And then, I can't remember who 2020 would have been. 21 was Darnold, though. 20 may have been Darnold.
I don't know how fair it is to just eliminate him because he didn't do it with those two, even though other people have.
He was, but the problem was is that Rule brought him in, and he was basically told, like, he was the hot shot, and it's like,
Matt
all right,
Rule.
this is yours.
Yeah.
This is all yours.
Ex-Baylor,
And
ex-Temple.
it never
Carolina.
looked schematically advantageous against other teams.
Todd Monken. First issue is he's 60 years old and he's been a head coach for 3
I'm the
years.
same way with guys
In his
named Todd that he is with guys named Gus, and no Todd for me.
Entire coaching career. His coaching career has lasted 40 years. He's been a head coach for 3 years. So in 40 years, only Southern Miss thought he was good enough to give him a head coaching job. That's it. Like, do you know how hard it is to win 2 national championships in an SEC school as a coordinator and not get a college job out of it? I mean, even Jeremy Pruitt got a college job out of it.
I'm not even giving time to Todd Monken because I know that's not happening.
I mean, if they were talking about their hiring an offensive coordinator, maybe.
Witten, I love Witt. Eventually, I want him to be the coach here, but not now.
Inexperience.
You hire him now, you ruin him, one. A. B, you can't hire somebody from high school who's never coached in the NFL. There will be more backlash on that than anyone ever. And finally, Dion, he's better off in college. He belongs there to lead kids to become young men. It's better for him. It's better for the kids. Better for society.
Ultimately, I think I
is
agree with
taking
him
those
there,
kids
but
and turning
I
them
would've
into
liked
young
to
men.
have
I'm not
Dion.
killing a Witten hire. I'm more critical of a Dion hire than a Witten hire.
Woo!
Well,
It is
that's
reportedly
dumb.
down to 2 in Chicago. The Whiz Kid and Big Mike. Is Mike McCarthy going to get the final laugh? And could the Dallas Stars keep it up on the ice? The Friday edition of Sean.
ever. And finally, Dion, like, do you know how hard it is to win 2 national championships in an like, do you know how hard
It was Darnold, though. 20.
Johnson. What do we know about Joe
Well,
Brady personally?
not much. I will say this.
Joe Brady's had to go through coaching rehab.
Yeah, let me see here.
Score! It redirected.
I'm trying to find the next cut.
Happened throughout the year. Teams score immediately as Montreal ties. Happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can't ever plan for the insanity of a front office like the Chicago Bears, I guess, who would say Ben Johnson, Mike McCarthy, same
we go.
coach,
We'll
right?
finish up
Like, I
with
mean,
this.
that's
We'll listen to a
clearly we
little
would be
more.
down to those two. And I mean, if it ends up being the way that it is with the chatter about the Raiders and Brady and the pull that he has potentially with Ben Johnson, and they are left in the game of musical chairs with their other candidate, which is Mike McCarthy. Good luck. And 2025 at Soldier Field when the Cowboys travel out there. It'll be, I would love to see Kellen Moore designing things against the Chicago Bears and Mike McCarthy.
How much are you trusting Big Mike for QB development? Jordan Schultz says that's what this job is about.
They're going to give him an offensive coach, I believe, but he's not going to have a say in the hiring. Yes, he's a number 1 pick. Yes, he's the franchise. He's the cornerstone.
I'm going to leave
but
it right
he's still
there,
a
people.
second-year player.
I'm going to leave it right there. And what I'll do is, this is how it's going to break down. Dion's not coming to Dallas. Robert Saleh, they're bringing him in for an interview, I believe, for a defensive coach. I do, as far as the coordinator job. They're really covering all their bases. I think this is Kellen Moore's job to lose. You know, we don't know how Kellen's going to do when he gets to run his own show. We've explained it. Eberflus, Witten, Mark Colombo, maybe John Kitna. You know, it could work. I believe that Ben Johnson will ultimately end up with the Raiders and Tom Brady. I think Ben Johnson knows that if he goes to Chicago, yes, he has a great young quarterback. But he has to play his team. He has to play Detroit twice a year. I think that's a big deal. I think going to the AFC is better. I think how this is all going to shake out. Kellen Moore comes to Dallas. They bring in Witten. It's going to be chummy. It's going to be good. I just would have liked a leader of men. I mean, it is what it is. Maybe we give Kellen a chance. Maybe he's grown. I mean, I don't know what to tell everybody. We're not going to stop being Cowboys fans. At least I'm not. I think Mike McCarthy ends up in Chicago, and I think Tom Brady gets Ben Johnson. I think that's how it's going to play out. I think that's probably the best possible scenario for those clubs. Dallas, we get what Stephen Jones wants. Jerry Jones takes a back seat, loses this fight. Dion will not be offered a head coaching job. And probably Dion's best in the college ranks. It would have been neat to see Dion coach his son. But who knows about the future? You never really know. As long as Jerry's around, who knows what the future lies. But that's it for me. Don't forget to like and share this video. I'll probably do a live stream later. Again, maybe a late night live stream like I did last night. I'm going over to my sister's house, so that's probably not going to happen. I don't know. Stay tuned. It might be real late. But, yeah, I'll talk to everybody later. And always, please remember.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Late.
It's time for lunch.
Angelo, it's 10:30.
Right around that corner, there is a sandwich shop. They sell meatball sandwiches. Best I've ever tasted. Would you go get me two? Come on, partner. Two. Thank you. Utah, give me two.